As the search for missing British teenager Jay Slater enters its fourth week, Spanish police, until now silent on their investigation, have released a dramatic new update. The Spanish Guardia Civil, in charge of this probe, insists that whilst their ground searches have been called off, the investigation into the 19-year-old's disappearance on June the 17th remains ongoing. In a statement released to The Sun, they say, and I quote, "Several lines of inquiry are being pursued." Perhaps even more telling today is the state of their investigation. They say that they remain hopeful of finding Jay alive and insist he is not yet regarded as missing, presumed dead. This new development, the fact that they are chasing new lines and pursuing every lead, will be some comfort to the family who have expanded their search deep within the gorge below me. They believe that Jay may have been able to walk further than the point where his phone last pinged before it ran out of battery. But the size of this area and the dangerous terrain underfoot perhaps illustrates their desperation. They are small in number and the search vast, but they refuse to give up hope, and now, after days of silence from the Spanish police, neither are they. The search for Jay Slater continues, and in a further development, his friends Brad Hargreaves and Lucy May Law have now flown home to the UK. Brad jetted back on Sunday after insisting that he and Jay were not drug mules. He had to come out and defend himself after claims were made online after it emerged that Jay had joined convicted drug dealer Ayub Qasim at a £40 a night Airbnb close by in the remote foothills of this mountainous region, a good 30-mile drive from the party scene close to his hotel in Los Cristianos in the hours before he vanished. Qasim insists he played no role in Jay's disappearance, but still, as the search continues, there remain more questions than answers.
It's a very odd set of circumstances. So Jay, 19-year-old, on his first holiday with the lads, was down in Los Cristianos, which is a bustling area in Tenerife, full of nightclubs and various bars. What seems to have happened is that he was at an NRG music festival. He meets two men, one of them, Ayub Qasim, who is a convicted drug dealer. And for some reason, he goes with Ayub Qasim and this other mystery man for now, out 30 minutes away from Los Cristianos, up a very, very steep winding road into the mountains to a place called Masca. And there they stayed overnight in a £40 Airbnb, which had been booked by Ayub Qasim. That's one of the key questions. And there are many, many questions, with many, many questions remaining unanswered. Why on earth did he leave Los Cristianos and drive up into the mountains with Ayub Qasim? What went on inside that Airbnb? And why on earth did he leave the next morning by foot instead of catching the bus? And by foot, he will have walked out of that Airbnb, turned on his Google Maps or his Apple Maps, and it would have told him that to get back to where he needed to be would have taken 11 hours.
He was on the phone and he goes, I'm not walking down all around that road, and he's gone over a little bit, like a little, not a big drop, just a little tiny little drop, and he's going down there. He goes, I'll ring you back, because I think someone else was ringing him. If you're thinking like me, he would have went back up and started walking around the path again. He wouldn't have gone all that way down there.
It remains unclear at the moment as to why he didn't catch a bus, why he didn't head back down the mountain towards Masca, why he didn't wait for a lift. The suggestion being at the moment from private investigator Mark Williams-Thomas is that he was scared of something or someone. And that's pretty much at the heart of this. We just don't know. There's no explanation. We've got various statements that have been issued by Ayub Qasim as to what happened, what unfolded. He says that Jay arrived at the Airbnb alive and that he left the Airbnb alive. We've got also statements from Lucy May Law, the last person to speak to him, during a panicked phone call where he said that he was in the middle of nowhere, he was lost, he had no water, and he had 1% left on his battery. So for now, as I say, that there are more questions than there are answers, and that is probably at the very heart of it. What on earth happened at that Airbnb? That's crucial. The family are frustrated. So initially, they've essentially gone from feeling extremely sad to now anger. the Spanish police don't work in the same way that British police do. There isn't a family liaison officer working with the family and feeding information to the family so that they're feeling connected to the investigation. They are very much detached from it. So they have no idea what lines or leads the Spanish police are following up. And that is turning them towards anger and despair. You know, we're 3 weeks on now, and I spoke to Glenn Duncan, who is Jay's nephew, over the weekend. He was part of one of the searches, and he said that he was utterly baffled why Spanish police allowed Ayub Qasim and another man to leave the country, to leave Tenerife, without any follow-up, and then they classed them very early on as irrelevant to the case, and they can't seem to understand why that was allowed to happen so early on, given that Ayub Qasim and this other man were the last people to see Jay before he vanished on June the 17th. So they're very frustrated. They're very much in the dark, and they know as much as we do, which for them is adding to their desperation. The authorities will simply say that they spent 12 exhaustive days looking around this mountainous region up towards Masca. They searched high and low. They sent helicopters up. They sent drones up. They had a large number of individuals searching through that area for Jay and found no sign of him whatsoever, no trace.
Throughout the Guardia Civil search for Jay, we haven't heard any mention of searching the sea, with no vessels being deployed for that. And now that Jay's dad, Warren, raises this as a possibility, and let's remember, Warren has been out there for some considerable time. He has walked the routes time and time again. He's thoroughly familiarised himself with the territory. I think this is a possibility that maybe should have been explored earlier on during the search. But of course, the ocean is often very slow to give up its secrets, and sometimes it simply never does. So if this is a possibility, and if this has happened, then once again, my concerns for Jay's safety are grave, and my thoughts remain with the family, who must be going through absolute torture. Taking an overview from afar, which is what I've been doing, it seems clear to me that the Guardia Civil have left some huge gaps in their investigation. A particular concern was detectives returning to the Airbnb over 2 weeks after Jay's disappearance. It seems to me that any suggestion of foul play has largely and perhaps conveniently been ignored by the Guardia Civil, who essentially want to keep Tenerife running as a tourist destination. They don't want the public to be thinking that young Brits can go there on holiday and perhaps have something dreadful happen to them. So it seems to me this has been an investigation of convenience, and now their theory has proven to be not proven. I think they have quietly let it go away, and they're probably hoping that this story will drop off the front pages, that people will lose interest, and life will return to normal. The Slater family are not going to allow that to happen, and I give them all due credit for finding the strength to carry on, for keeping this story very much front and centre of the news agenda wherever they can, and they have my utmost respect for that.